Carolyn Swenson. It has been exactly 2 years since the Hard Rock collapse, and now Orleans Parish DA Jason Williams says he's ready to convene a grand jury to consider felony charges against whoever caused that disaster.
3 men were killed in that collapse. David Hammer has been investigating what went wrong since that day and has more from people who knew the project on the inside.
This video of the Hard Rock collapse shows the 18th floor rooftop starting to cave in along the Rampart Street edge close to Iberville Street. Now look at this other video taken from below on Rampart Street on the other side of Iberville. Roll it back to where the video starts. This is a few seconds into the collapse. The 16th, 17th, and 18th floors have all pancaked together. But look at the 15th floor. It's just now starting to fall, as all 3 floors above it come crashing down on top of it. Structural engineer Walter Zenner says that's crucial evidence of what caused this deadly disaster.
You can see where the 2 upper floors are moving kind of together rather than individually. I see. And that indicates that the 16th floor failed and the other floors just came down with it.
Zenner worked on the demolition of the Hard Rock last year. Now he works for the developer 1031 Canal Development. He thinks the video proves what we reported exclusively last week, the unpublished findings of an engineering report by the Federal Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Sources with knowledge of OSHA's investigation tell us OSHA's engineer found dozens of beams under the 16th floor were, quote, grossly undersized, and that connections between steel beams and columns were also grossly undersized.
And I calculated them to be almost 300% overstressed. So that means a connection is 300% overstressed.
How obvious was this?
Well, I mean, I saw it right away when I looked at the plans, and I know other engineers I've talked to said the same thing, so I don't know how that got missed. I really don't.
He says the beams under the 16th floor were always too small to support all 3 top floors, and he blames Heaslip Engineering.
Heaslip was the one who was basically responsible for the design of the building, and the design was lacking, so they're responsible for that.
What about questioning the design or questioning the engineer?
Well, that's a good question.
And now, for the first time, we're hearing from a supervisor who worked on the project, someone who did raise concerns while the project was being built.
I was supervising the entire structural portion for Hub Steel on that site, yes.
Brad Morrow oversaw the crews working for the steel fabricator and installer. He took hundreds of photos of things that didn't look right to him while his crews were installing them. Now those photos are potential evidence in a criminal investigation and in civil lawsuits seeking damages for the collapse.
None of us had seen a lot of the things done before, but we thought, we put our trust in the engineers thinking, okay, well, it's got to be structurally sound, even though we didn't think it was correct.
Many of Morrow's photos focus on the L-shaped metal clips used to connect beams to columns. This photo shows bolts coming through from a clip on the other side of this beam, but look, there's no clips on this side of the beam. Morrow said he found that strange and saw it repeatedly at the Hard Rock.
Normally, you would have 2 clips on each end, so you're losing basically half the bolts and half the structural integrity of the beam, in the connection.
He said his questions always got the same pat answer.
That's what the print said, that's what the spec said, so that's what we had to go with.
Zenner and others say the best way to protect against this happening again is to require a peer review of the structural drawings by an independent engineer.
Because there's nobody at the city to review the structural aspects of a drawing. If it's got an engineer's stamp on it, they accept it. But I think that if any engineer would have done a peer review of this building, this would have never happened.
It took 2 years, but the City Council finally voted this month to require engineering peer reviews on all high-rise building projects from now on. David Hammer, Eyewitness News.
An attorney for Hub Steel noted that Morrow left the Hard Rock job at the 10th floor, which is, quote, well below where the collapse originated. James Heaslip from Heaslip Engineering said he stands by his company's track record and denies all allegations of fault or negligence.